Why you can't have an algae-free aquarium. Even in the best looking tanks, algae shows up, and knowing how to handle it makes all the difference. In this video, we'll go over 4 of the most common algae types, what causes them, and how to fix them in a way that actually works long term. Hair algae is very common in planted aquariums, and I'm talking from experience. I've had my share of it. It is thin, soft, and very fast growing, and once it settles in, it spreads quickly over plants, rocks, and equipment. It usually forms long green strands that tangle around leaves and float with the current. While it might look harmless, it slows down plant growth and creates low flow traps that affect circulation. What makes hair algae different from other types is how aggressively it targets weak areas, damaged leaves, slow growers, or patches with slight ammonia buildup are perfect entry points for it. It also thrives when there's too much light combined with nutrients that aren't being absorbed fast enough, usually because your plants are growing fast enough to keep up. You'll often see it in tanks that look clean but have imbalances below the surface. That could be leftover organics in the substrate, unstable CO2, or dosing iron when plants aren't ready to use it. Hair algae doesn't need much to take off, just a small window of imbalance, and it spreads fast. The fix isn't just about cutting light or nutrients, it's about improving plant growth. Trim away damaged leaves, focus on fast growers, and make sure your ferts and CO2 match your plant's needs. For removal, manual extraction is best. Wrap it around a tush broth or bristle brush and pull it out gently to avoid spreading fragments. Some algae eaters might help, but only if the strands are short. Once it grows out, they usually ignore it, so don't wait to take action. Blackbeard algae is slow to grow, but once it shows up, it's incredibly stubborn. You usually see it as small, dark bunches, almost like tiny bristles, on the edges of leaves, driftwood, filter pipes, or right where flow hits the glass. It doesn't spread like crazy, but it's persistent, and it's not easy to remove once it grabs on. What makes BBA different from most other algae is how well it holds on. It doesn't break apart easily, and it seems to survive in tanks that otherwise feel balanced. Most of the time, it appears in areas where water flow is strong but plants are weak, like on slow growers or hardscape that's never touched. It's also more likely to show up in mature tanks where debris slowly builds up over time. If you want to stop BBA from taking over, the best long-term fix is prevention through stability. Strong plant growth helps, but it's just as important to keep the tank clean, avoid overfeeding, and make sure detritus isn't collecting in hidden corners. Even a small patch of buildup can become a foothold for BBA. As for removal, there's no magical fix, but there are a few fish that will eat it. The Florida flagfish, for example, are one of the few species that actively graze on blackbeard algae, but they are not delicate. If you keep fine-leafed plants like mosses or carpeting species, they might tear them up while trying to eat the algae. So think of these fish as a last resort, not a go-to solution. Start by manually removing what you can and correcting the conditions that allowed BBA to grow in the first place. If you are enjoying the video, remember to like and subscribe. It helps the channel grow and get to more people who love this hobby. Green dust algae looks harmless at first, just a light green film on the glass, but give it a few days and it turns into a thick, cloudy layer that ruins your view and doesn't come off easily. You'll scrub it and it comes back. You wipe it again and it comes back even faster. That's because you are not only dealing with surface algae. GDA releases spores that stay in the water and reattach quickly if you remove it too early. This type of algae usually shows up in new tanks or tanks that recently had a major reset. It's common when there's a fresh nutrient source, like aqua soil that's still leaching, and not enough plant mass to absorb it. GDA doesn't require dead zones or damaged leaves like other algae. It's completely free-floating until it decides to settle on the glass. And once it does, it creates a layer that's hard to wipe clean without stirring spores back into the water. The best way to beat it is to let it run its course. Seriously, don't touch it for 10 to 20 days. Let the green film cover the glass until it completes its growth cycle. Once it stops spreading and starts looking dry or flaky, remove it all in one go with a scraper and do a large water change. After that, the spores will be mostly gone and the regrowth should stop completely. If your tank is older and still gets GDA, it usually means the nutrients aren't being used efficiently, especially in tanks with lots of light and not enough fast growers. Add plants that can soak up extra nutrients, avoid overfeeding, and try to keep things stable. And if you want a cleanup crew that loves this algae, get yourself some Autosynclus. They are gentle, effective, and one of the best grazers for this specific type. Green spot algae is one of the easiest types to recognize and one of the hardest to remove. It forms tiny bright green dots that stick to the glass, plant leaves, hardscape, even equipment. And I do mean stick. You can wipe the same spot 5 times and those dots will still be there, like they are etched into the surface. Unlike a lot of algae that shows up from excess nutrients, GSA usually shows up when you are missing something, most often phosphate. It thrives in well-lit tanks where phosphates are too low for the plants to use light effectively. You'll also notice that it tends to appear in slow-growing areas like on anubias or boost leaves, where nothing is outcompeting it. And once it settles in, soft algae eaters won't touch it. Even snails will pass right over it unless it's still fresh. The most effective way to keep GSA from showing up is to maintain steady phosphate levels. You don't need to overdo it, just make sure your plants aren't starving while the light is blasting. Fast-growing plants can help, but this algae really comes down to nutrient balance. So check your phosphate levels. In a low-tech tank without a lot of plants, you want something between 0.5 to 1 ppm. In a high-tech heavily planted aquarium, you're looking for 1 to 3 ppm. If green spot algae is already in your aquarium, don't waste time with scrubbing. Use a razor blade or algae scraper to get it off the glass. Nothing else works. And if you want help long-term, Nerite snails are some of the only grazers that will eat it once it's softened. But the real fix happens before it appears. Balance the light, proper dosing, and washing your slower plants for warning signs. Some types of algae are easy to manage, and others take a little creativity to keep under control. If you've found a trick that works for stubborn algae in your own tank, drop it in the comments. I'd love to hear what's working for you.